Guys, thank you very much for listening to the Photography Bar podcast. If you enjoy the show, please make sure to support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and TikTok, as well as our Patreon, all of which will be linked in the show notes. Please leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast apps such as Spotify and Apple Podcast. And with all that said, let's head to the bar.
Hello, everyone. Well, before we get stuck into the main podcast episode, we just wanted to have a quick chat with you about the upcoming photography show at the NEC on the 16th to the 19th of March, 2024. We do have 20% off on the entry ticket, so do have a look in our show notes for the discount code. But Cam, quickly, what's going on at the show?
Okay, well, this is the perfect place, Mark, to browse kit. There's more than 250 brands on the floor this year, so you can get your hands on kit, which is going to be absolutely great. Loads of discounts. So this is the place to get your discounts if you want to buy in a year. Plenty of live demos as well. Nikon School, Canon Spotlight, and a whole host of others as well. So this is the place to go. NEC from the 16th and 19th of March. Get your tickets, get your discount.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Photography Bar podcast. And we have another guest on. But before we get into that, Cam, how you doing? You right?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm all gearing up to the photography show. Press passes in hand.
Yes,
press passes in hand. We're going to be over at the Canon stand. We've been given some exclusive access by Canon.
Yeah,
and,
really cool.
So we're going to be there for a little while, and So that's really where my mind is at the moment, Mike.
It's only a few days now, isn't it? Only a few days until the show. Right. So really looking forward to it.
That's right.
Anyway.
How are you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm fine. Thank you very much. Yes, no, I'm all good. So, just looking forward to the show. Looking forward to getting around because it's been a while. It feels like a while, but yeah, really looking forward to it. So yeah. Right then. Well, that's enough rabbiting on from us. Let's get on with our interview with Jade Keshia Gordon.
Okay, guys. So I've got Jade with us, and Jade, thank you very much for being a guest on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So I very briefly about Jade. Jade started JKG Photography in 2010 and specializes in fashion and beauty photography. She's also very passionate about teaching, especially on one topic that we do want to talk about, and that's how to photograph skin tones. And she's got some great clients, and they include Canon, Benefit Cosmetics, Manfrotto, Dove, The Plastic Boy, and Grace Victory, among others. So a really good sort of client list as well. So Jade, you're going to be talking at the photography show. Is this the first type of talk that you'll have done on this scale, as it were?
No, I wouldn't say so. So I literally just did the SWPP in January. Mm-hmm. I did the SWPP last year and the year before, but I've also done a few workshops / masterclasses for Canon as well. So where I'd go into like their distributor stores and teach about portrait photography or fashion photography. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's my first rodeo, but it is my first rodeo with the photography show.
Okay, that's really good. Actually, it's good for the listeners to know as well, because there's good experience there, and already obviously an established speaker as well. Now, you're going to be doing two talks at the photography and video show, which is 16th and 19th of March at the NEC. And remember, guys, you can get a discount from us. We'll put that in the link. So it's a special discount code that ties in with the photography show, and as official supporting partners, that's something that we've been able to offer. So two talks, 19th of March, 11:15 until 12 o'clock, the one you're doing, which is going to be in the photo studio area. And that is the importance of knowing how to light all skin tones. And then you're doing one later in the afternoon, 2:25 to 2:55, and that's in the Masterclass Theatre, the Piazza Suites, and that is a career in fashion and beauty photography. So I think both two talks I think are going to appeal to quite a number of people.
Absolutely.
They're 45-minute talks, so you're doing actual demonstrations, I'm guessing, because the first talk, Jade, is the importance of knowing how to light all skin tones. So you're going to be doing actual demonstrations with lights. People can actually see what you're talking about.
100%, yeah. So obviously, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I guess the kind of wide spectrum of it is I'm very passionate of being able to. I want people to be able to see themselves within my images, no matter their skin color. So I think it's really important for people to kind of understand the importance of being able to light all skin tones, basically. So ideally, I'm going to have 2 different models who are different skin tones, and I will basically show how I do that.
Yeah, good stuff. It's quite good actually, because with me, you and Mark here, we're like a perfect model group, aren't we? Because we've all got
100%.
different we've all got different skin tones.
Definitely,
as I said,
definitely.
we're the perfect sort of model to do a little demonstration on that. But when it comes to something like lighting, what is the importance of it? Because there's so much now that can be done in post. Why,
Yeah,
why at camera stage? What does that give you?
I think for me is that first and foremost, I am a photographer. I am not a retoucher. Can I retouch? Yes, but I am a photographer first and foremost, and I've kind of always said that if you can fix it before post, then do so. And I think that's the same with lighting as well. Like, I'm very much someone, I don't want to sit in front of my screen for hours on end editing unless it's because I'm doing something super creative. I don't want to have to fix something that could have been rectified beforehand. And that's the same with lighting. I think when you're taking that photo for whatever reason it is, you want your client to be not worried when they see it tethered to a screen thinking, oh, that's a bit pale, or that's a bit too overblown out, or whatever it is. And I think for me, I think just being able to know how to light and how easy it is as well. And I think people have a lot of misconceptions as to how much light or how little light you need. And I guess at my class, I'm basically going to show just how, straightforward it is once you know those small techniques.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
no,
you
I
said
absolutely
that,
agree. I
actually.
think, getting it in camera for me, it's always been something that's very important, because we can do all these extra things post. But you're right, the hours you can spend sort of editing, it is hours you're not making money, I guess, doing other shoots and all that kind of stuff. So
100%.
yeah,
Yeah, I do say that to others in the sense that, are you a photographer or are you an editor? And where are you going to split that time? That's the important thing. And if you're running a business, time matters. And so I think that's crucial to it as well. So when it comes to the demos that you're doing, are they something that's suitable for all levels?
100%. I think there is no obviously, yes, there's beginner, intermediate, and advanced with a lot of things. But I think what I'm going to be showing, even someone that's probably been doing this for so long, they might find one little thing to take away from them and take it back to their own working kind of, playground or whatever it is, and be able to kind of implement that. And I always say is, even if I inspire one person, then I've done my job. Like, I think, you never know who you're going to inspire. You can inspire someone that just started yesterday or someone that started, 20 years ago. I think at the end of the day, being able to light and knowing how to light different skin tones is just something that everybody should just know, regardless of how long you've been doing photography for. And I think a lot of people within the community, myself included, we can become very stuck in our ways. We can become very much like, okay, we're getting booked and, so it's fine. So it doesn't matter, but it does. And I think it's better for us to kind of speak out about these things and just make sure that we get those fine tunings so that we can be the best photographers we can be.
absolutely. And is this obviously when you're talking about the different skin tones and how is this more about individual people, or will you also be talking about, say, a group of people within the same photo?
Yeah, so my intention is to kind of have, I guess, like 2 models who ideally will be black, one will be white, and I would shoot them individually and then together. And cool. I basically want to show, again, how easy it is and how you won't have to tweak much and things like that. I think people have this misconception that you may need more light or less light depending on the person's skin, and it really isn't. I think sometimes it's just, little tweaks, which, I'm hoping people will come and see, and I'll show you how it's kind of done.
I do agree with that. I think also I'm very much a great believer in sort of less is more. If you can start with one light, and then if you feel that you need a second light, then you can add that in, or the reflectors and things that you can use. I think a lot of people have this impression, have this sort of thing that I need all the lighting. I need
100%.
lights everywhere. I need, I need an overhead light. I need a couple of backlights. I need two at the front. I need a couple of 3/4 ones.
Yeah.
People do think there's no way I can do this, but people do overcomplicate it, don't they, when it comes to lighting?
100%. I think, look, we would all want X amount of lighting, and that's very costly. I think the industry that the photographers are in, it's very pricey, to get a camera and all these different things. So for me, I use broncolor lighting, and I have 2 heads for that, and that's at my studio. So on the day, I'll also be using those as well. They've kindly let me use it, so that'll be cool. But yeah, like I'm very much, I literally did an article last year on how to do like a one light setup. So I am very much on like, deal with what you have and know that like the back of your hand, like if you were to look in the mirror and see yourself, that's how you should see your equipment. So that when you do upgrade, it's because you're upgrading because it's something that doesn't have on your current camera or your current lighting or whatever it is. Like I'm very fortunate that I was able to get the broncolor lighting, which was great. I think I got it on a demo, which, it was about maybe 5 years ago. I think it was about maybe 5 years ago. So I think, yeah, so I've had the opportunity to work with some really good lighting. Prior to that, I used Bowens. I've used Profoto in the past, but I think for me personally, broncolor is where I kind of line. But that's not to say you can't do the same thing with Elinchrom or Bowens or even Godox as well. So I think it just really does depend. And I think people have this misconception that they hear the names and think, oh, I need to get that because it's a ... It's the same with cameras. People have this battle with what's better. And yes, I'm a Canon user. Yes, I've done some cool things with Canon, but I have a really good friend who's a Nikon creator, and she does some really cool stuff with Nikon. And her camera is really good for her. And for me personally, I've tried it. It's very heavy, so I probably wouldn't. But I can see why people gravitate towards that, and I see why people gravitate towards Canon. I always say at the end of the day, when it comes to equipment, you just choose what's best for you, and try not to have the saying over you, which is, all the gear with no idea.
That's
right.
And I think it's the same with lighting. People don't understand that our source of light, which is outside, we can manipulate that so much using things like reflectors, diffusers, and things like that. And it's like, and then in the studio, you can do a one light setup and then use a reflector as technically your second light. So there were so many different ways around it. And I think people don't like, they probably know it, but they just see someone else with it and think, oh yeah, I need to get that or whatever it is. So yeah, I think for me, with all the classes I try and teach, I just try and basically make sure that, one, I show you with most things that what you have. So for example, within that class, I'm also going to be doing quite a quick editing setup process as well, just kind of how I would retouch those pictures. Now, I found quite a quicker way to kind of retouch. I use, different like plugins and panels and things like that, but I know how to do it without all of those things. So I know how to do it just using Photoshop as well. But for me, with process and time, I've now found a way that is a lot easier for me, but I've understood what that plugin is doing. And this is another thing. So when I'm saying to this person, saying to people, okay, get the plugin, I always say, I want you to understand what that plugin is doing. Because if not, if the plugin makes a mistake, you're not going to understand how to rectify the mistake. So it's the same sort of concept, like, if you're going to get a plugin that color grades for you, do you understand what that color grade is doing? Do you understand what each level, what curve, etc. is doing? So it's the same thing. So yeah, I think I found a way. I don't really like retouching. It's not my favorite thing to do. I prefer to shoot, but at the same time, I like to see my end result. So it's why I've learned to retouch to a standard that it's good enough, because I've in the past used to send my stuff to people and it would either come like, I shoot a lot of like, I guess, black skin, and when it would come back, the person looked extremely grey. And I was like, well, I didn't shoot it like that. So what have you done? And I was like, I have to now take control of that image and, make it my own again, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think everybody can learn from something. I've always said that the moment you stop learning, it means you're probably dead. Like, I think even the best photographers in the world will probably tell you that they're still learning, either if that be by a book or, going to a class or whatever. Like, I recently just finished doing a work experience with a student who's like a second year student at university, and I feel like I learned so much in that month about myself as a photographer, but also as me as a teacher. And I think that's another thing, is that it's one thing to shoot, but it's another thing to teach how to shoot.
I was going to say that when it comes to actual sort of lighting and lighting styles, one of the things that I had a real affinity for many years ago, and again, it proved that you could do how much you could do with one light, where you could turn a plain white background to be completely black just with one light, and the way that you light it with the reflector, everything. And one of the things that I had a great affinity, I still do actually, are the classic 1940s, 50s Hollywood style, the Marlene Dietrich, Clark Gable, Grace Kelly, those classic black and white images that they did that was so beautifully lit, which I think I've always felt that they're great things for students to learn, when they're at college or something like that, or university. I think they're sort of essential lighting techniques. And do you have a particular sort of, regardless, not so much, if you're not following a brief or anything, but if you had to shoot a certain style of portrait, is there a certain style that you really like? Is there something that you think?
That's a good question. So I don't really like shadows very much. I'm very much a clean-esque, I guess, shooter. Unless the shadows need to be there, I kind of make sure the lighting will make it not be there anymore. I wouldn't say I have like a particular style, but yeah, I think people kind of take away from that. They always say it's very clear, like clean, and just like symmetrical in that sense. Like I love beauty portraiture and just beauty in general. Like I want to get more into fashion again. Like I used to shoot a lot of fashion photography, and I think I haven't done it as much as I used to. So yeah, I'm definitely, it's something that I kind of want to get back into, probably by like doing testing and things like that. But like how the world works, they see what they see on your website and your Instagram or whatever it is, and then they book you according to that. So like I always say, if you want to get booked for something, do a test shoot for it, and then you might get booked for it. So yeah, I wouldn't say I have a style, but I guess fashion and beauty in all aspects is probably, yeah, I'd say so, like that.
Okay. Well, good stuff.
Cool. I'll just say, just before we move on from the sort of what we're talking about, skin tones. I mean, I know we don't want to give too many away, because also we want people to come to your talk. And please do go and see Jade, because I think it's going to be an awesome talk. If there was one tip you would say about sort of taking the correct exposure or the correct picture of a certain skin tone, if there's one tip you would say to think about, what would it be?
Oh, one tip.
So I put you on the spot now, wouldn't I? Sorry.
No, it's okay. I would say just make sure that your like aperture in your camera is at a good. I feel like people kind of go for 2 point whatever it is, or however low their lens is, they go for that, and then they wonder why maybe there's a shallow depth of field. And I'm like, yeah, because you've opened it up completely. Whereas if you're using flash lighting, have it at 5.6, have it at 8.0. I have mine quite high, like no matter the person's skin tone, I have mine quite high, like 8.0, f11 sometimes. And I literally then use my lighting as my way of like working around it. So I would say like my ideal screen on my camera would be shutter speed at 1/125. My aperture could be anything from 5.6 up. I'm normally at an 8, to be fair. And then my ISO, I don't use ISO like as much as I think a lot of people do. But yeah, my ISO will probably be at the lowest which a camera can do, which mine does 50. I know some people's is 100. But yeah, I would say just balance out your camera first and then work around it. And then you don't have to change your camera after that. It's changing the lighting. Now, I know some people do the other way around, whereas they keep their lighting the same and then they change their camera settings. I personally don't. I think once you've got your camera settings at however you like it, and then it's a matter of like changing your lighting settings. This is obviously from a studio aspect. When you're shooting outside, obviously, even though we're not doing that for my class, it's a lot different. I think you have a lot more room to play around with. You can change your shutter speed. You can, maybe up your ISO a little bit more. If you want that depth of field, then you can drop that down, put up your shutter speed. So yeah, I think it varies, but definitely for studio, that's kind of what my ideal would be. 1/125, probably f8, and then the lowest ISO, which is 50 for me.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, it's keeping those variables, so one thing is constant, and then you can change something else.
100%. Yeah.
No, I completely agree with that, and I'm the same. I mean, I have But if I'm shooting in the studio, it depends what I'm shooting. If I'm shooting a family or something like that, again, it'd be you want that higher depth of field, don't you? So yeah, something like an f/8 or an f/11 is where I'd go to. But you're right. It's just about knowing what you're doing, knowing what you want to achieve out of it, but also
100%, yeah.
keeping those variables right. No, absolutely. We'll take a break, go for our
Mhm.
drink, and then we'll talk about your what you're going to be chatting about in the next section.
We've had a drink and we're back again. Okay, so Jade's second talk, 19th of March at the photography show, is at 2:25 in the Masterclass Theatre, the Piazza Suites, and it's a career in fashion and beauty photography. And Jade will be explaining what it's like to work in this area and what a typical job looks like for her and what you can do to get into this line of work. So I think a lot of people are going to be interested. I think that's going to be a very, very popular talk. So Jade, with fashion and beauty photography, what was the route that you took very quickly into getting into fashion photography? Or no, actually, what made you decide that, yeah, I'm at this point and fashion and beauty is what I want to do?
Well, I guess I will very quickly run through. So I started my business when I was 17. I was still in college at that point. I pretty much always loved taking pictures of my friends and family, etc. growing up. I had like a digital camera that I used to, take and get like the film or whatever and would get it sorted out, whatever it was, and developed. And so that was really cool. I have like photo albums galore. So I've always loved pictures. So so 2010, I got a camera from my parents, and then I pretty much started taking pictures there and then. From like December, I did my first shoot with my friend. Like, oh my gosh, Jade, you could actually do something with this. By spring of 2011, I had already bought my domain name and whatnot. So fast forward to like going into college, obviously college, and then I went to uni. I went to uni, creative uni, which wasn't probably my best experience. I'd say with university, sadly. There was just a lot of issues, I think. I also struggled, I think, with juggling both things. Obviously, I was running a business as well as being at uni. It wasn't the easiest of things. And I think my uni didn't make it any easier. So I actually didn't pass. So I had every intention of passing that year and moving to another university to continue on elsewhere. And basically my teachers made it everything but easy for me to pass. Like, they did everything. They nitpicked so that I wouldn't move to this university. So I ended up going to a second one. I restarted first year and it was a great uni. That uni was really, really good. So that was UEL. And that one was super good. Like, they were so supportive. But I think by that point, I'd already tapped out. I no longer wanted to be at uni. So I left with some advice from someone from the university. He basically said to me, he's like, look, like, you have to be wanting to go to uni for a particular reason. He's like, I just can't see what that is and you can't tell me. So he was like, look, just get yourself a camera and he's like, see where it goes. You never know. So that's what I did. I got myself a camera. It was a Canon 6B at the time. And pretty much from there, so that was 2015. Yeah, 2015, I dropped out of university. And then between 2015 2018, I had like a full-time job in a betting shop while also doing full-time photography. So I used to shoot in the morning, go to a betting shop, work 9 hours, then come home and edit the pictures from the morning. And that was pretty much the process for like 3 years. And then like within the last year, I kind of cut down my hours because I kind of knew I was leaving. And then eventually 2018 of April, I went self-employed. And then pretty much since then, that's where I've been at now. So, it's not, I guess, a love story in the sense of it being very easy. And
so obviously you're there, and now obviously since then you've done some things with Dove.
yes.
It's a big difference to where you were from that point. So how did that happen? I mean, how did you get from where you were there and then coming into?
You know what? The trajectory of like my career has been very weird. Like, I feel like I reached a peak in 2017 when I shot a night curve campaign. And it pretty much went viral. It was in newspapers. It was in like everywhere you could probably think it was on TV, whatever it was. And then I kind of had a dip. So bearing in mind, 2017, I was still very much at the betting shop.
So it was so just to get to just to go into that. So social media had a massive impact on that then.
100%, yeah. Like,
because that's not something me and Cam have ever really experienced, to be fair. I think Cam,
yeah.
you know, I mean, just I mean, I graduated in 2003 and Cam graduated in, I don't know, was it the 1950s? I don't know. So basically we didn't have social media at that point, which is probably both a good and a bad thing in some respects.
100%.
But I'm just intrigued because obviously when I left, I mean, when I graduated, I also graduated a lot of photographers, and some people really did dream of, going down to London and making it in, the London studios and going into the fashion area. And I don't know anyone who actually managed to do it, to be honest with you, because it is so competitive and it's so very difficult
100%.
to get into. So I'm just trying to work out, because you're one of the people who actually managed it. You did it, and actually you did it in a way that was probably more difficult than maybe than maybe what it was for me and Cam to do it back in the day. You were doing this job, you were doing all these other things. So I'm just intrigued to know how you got that break, as it were.
So like, if we go back into like 2015, so between 2010 and 2015, I pretty much kind of just did jobs here and there. Like, I would kind of email companies, email like models or like up and coming like artists, and just see if they needed a photographer. I was happy to either do it free or do it at a lower rate or whatever it was, just to kind of get my name out there. And then in 2014, I used to watch this blogger. So she was a blogger on YouTube. And she used to write about her outfits on a blog post. That's how I knew of her. She was a like curve influencer from like sort of the plus size industry. And I really, really liked her. And I was like, okay. Her management email was in her bio. And I said, okay. So I sent an email and they were like, oh yeah, this would be great. And I set up a shoot. It wasn't paid, but I was like, it's going to be fine, Jade. Don't worry. Like, this is like someone you've wanted to work with for a long time, and who knows what could come of this. So I did this shoot with her and it was great. She's like, look, hon, you don't have to email my manager anymore. Here's my number anytime you want to shoot. So I was like, okay, sweet. So now this person I had been watching on YouTube, who had X amount of followers and viewership, was now like, I guess, in my phone book. And then 2015 came. I started the betting shop in June. And then in November, I was traveling to New York. And as I was going, she basically put up a message on Twitter saying that she's really struggling to do all her content. So I messaged her on WhatsApp and I said, oh, hey, like, I can help you with that. And she's like, do you do that sort of stuff? I said, no, but I'll try. And she was like, okay, sweet, let's do it. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to New York for 2 weeks. So when I get back, she was like, yeah, perfect. So when I came back from New York, I met up with her and we shot like 3 outfits in the day. Just like different looks and different like close-ups, etc., etc. And she loved the photos. She was like, okay, cool, you've got the job. So I ended up basically becoming her personal photographer. We worked together for 5.5 years. And then I think our big break was 2017. We did the Nike campaign, which is funny because I think Nike didn't expect it to go as big as it did. They basically, they used like a PR agency. I think that's the best way for me to explain what this is. So they hired a PR agency to find 2 people to head this campaign. And funny enough, the 2 people they chose were my clients. So they showed examples of what they wanted, and they said, whoever you normally get to shoot your pictures, get them to do this. So I was that person. So it meant that we had a super tight time frame. Bearing in mind, I had 2 people I had to shoot 2 totally different looks. Like, it was like, I think 3 looks per person. And I had to do both of those within a week and edit them and send it back for it to go to be like checked over. So it was super tight. But yeah, we did it. We posted it or whatever. And that was that. We thought, okay, we've done the job. We got paid for it. That was it. Now, the next thing that happened was that obviously it went out and I got contacted the next, like 1 a.m. in the morning by the Sun newspaper And then it literally went from there, Harper Bazaar and all these other like really cool magazines. And we were like, oh my gosh, we weren't expecting it to go in the way it came. So like 2 days later, as I said, sleeping, my phone rings and I see this weird number and I was like, okay. It's like, hello. They're like, hi. Is this Jade speaking? It's like, they're like, hi, this is so-and-so from the Sun photo editor. And I was like, the Sun?
Yeah.
So they sent me like a byline of the story and I looked at it and I said, okay, this looks good. It kind of like spiraled from there. And yeah, and then I think I peaked at 2017. And then I feel like obviously then I left my job in 2018, went self-employed, still worked with that particular client for about a year after I left Betting Shop, and then introduced the world of influencers. And that's when they kind of came about. So I was like, oh, okay, you guys are very similar to what I used to shoot. Let's see what can be done here. So I basically started tailoring some marketing around that. And then I worked with influencers for about 5-6 years or whatever it was, until I got bored.
So Jade, you've been like in the industry now for it's 13, 14 years in the fashion and beauty industry, and you've carved out what has been a really good career. You know, the work that you've done for Nike, you know, the Sun newspaper story and getting all of that, and that's really good stuff. You've got a really sort of interesting background as to how you got into you know, how your career path has actually led. Let's just put the actual photography for aside just for a moment here, okay? The fashion industry in general, okay, the way that they market themselves, the way that the images that they shoot, and what's changed? What's current now? Is there more? Are they looking to do more sort of? You know, is the shock factor still a big thing? You know, you know, is there a trend within the industry, whether it's a good trend or a bad trend? It's not that it's, but is there something there that...
Good question. So okay, I can only go off what I probably know. So when I first started photography, in that sense, I think the fashion industry was very like one-dimensional, very one size quotation fits all. So they assumed if they were highlighting that, then they've done enough. And then if we go into the fact that then there was hardly any models who were of a different skin color, if they were Black, if they were Asian, if they had a disability, if they had a skin condition, whatever it was very just like stick thin, like I guess able-bodied models. That's the first thing, fashion. And they thought they were doing something. And then what would happen is that you get them a token, either Black or Asian model, and then they think they've done something. Now they thought, oh, we've introduced that into the fashion world, that means we've done something. And I think for me, working in the plus size community, being plus size myself, we realized that there was such a window that could be done here. Like, we understand that a lot of these fashion brands, especially like, you know, the luxury fashion brands, they don't want to extend their sizing. They just don't. And I think a lot of people have made peace with that. But you've got high street brands who really and truly you should now, because if we look at like what the standard size is in the UK isn't what the standard size was 10 years ago, even what it was 5 years ago. And I think, you know, maybe the whole COVID situation had a lot to do with that, people staying at home and eating loads, you know, whatever it was. So I think fashion as a whole, has it got better? Yes. But there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. I think, for example, I used to go to fashion shows all the time. I no longer go to them, purely because I still don't see myself. So it's very hard for me to photograph. And, you know, like I have friends who basically do the whole thing. They go to all the fashion shows, like, you know, New York, Copenhagen, Milan, Paris, and they get some amazing photos. And I look at these pictures and I'm like, but there's just no one that looks like me in these photos. And it's very hard for me because it's like, I love to create and I love to capture, but I also want to be able to see myself within what I do. And
it's about wanting to keep it. It's about wanting to keep it real and the society that we live in.
100%.
And if I may, just asking a question. So, if you're taking on a job or a client or whatever it is that something that's foremost in your mind now? Well, hang
100%.
on a minute. So if I don't know, Armani came, I'm just picking Armani out of a hat, all right? It could be anybody, you know, offered you this massive deal, but actually you were kind of like, well, no, because you're not representing me. So it's not something I
it's
want
very
to do.
tricky. Like most times, I guess with most jobs, you get sent a mood board. And I kind of, so for example, just to quickly go, like, for example, into Dove, they had a mood board and they literally straight away said exactly what they wanted. They had all these markers for like diversity. They had someone who had a skin condition, who was in a wheelchair, who was like black, white, Asian. Like, it was perfect. It was a perfect shoot. And I think, you know, as a society, there's so many of us, so many different cultures, and you know, and I don't see why fashion just can't do that too. Like, it's definitely got better. You know, so yeah, I think
still work to be done though, I'm guessing.
100%.
Yeah. So you know, when we talk about you know, as actual photography and photographers getting into the fashion industry and already established fashion photographers, and then we talk about, you know, certain body shapes, body sizes, skin tones, and I'm not talking really about skin tones here, but it's more to do with body shape, body sizes. We're now seeing the introduction now, aren't we, of virtual models, of the AI side of things. Okay, so now we're talking. Now, are we talking about the perfect model because they can do it? You know, they can basically generate anyone in, you know, however they want to, getting rid of all the imperfections and all of that. Now, have you directly been involved in any of that? Have you been affected by that, in that, hey, look, you know, we're not actually using photography anymore, or we're balancing it, we're, you know, we're totally AI now, or we're using a bit of AI now? Have you experienced that with anyone? And people that are wanting to get into the photography industry, is it something that they need to be aware of now?
No, yes and no. So I haven't personally. So I use AI, but not in probably the way most people do. Like, if I need to extend the backdrop, I'll use it. Like generative fill or whatever it is. Like, I'll use it for that. But I don't really like to add things in and all of that. I just think just do it beforehand. It's the same with models. If you're using an AI model, it's just laziness in my eyes. There's a massive amount of agencies. Why not just find a model? It's just laziness at the end of the day.
Well, you're absolutely right. I think it's
personally,
both laziness and it's also cost effective though. That's
100%,
the problem, isn't it? And when you have like business, I mean, it's always about the bottom line. So I fear we're going to see more of the AI models.
Well, the reason why I brought this up, there was a story recently in this was in Europe, and it's a Spanish AI model, and she earns up to €10,000 a month. Her name is Aitana. I don't know if you've come across her.
How can
Jade,
an AI model earn money?
Right? I was going to say, where does that
no, okay. So she's 25, right? She has an age. Yeah, Aitana, right? She's 25. She's got an age. A pink-haired woman from Barcelona receives weekly private messages from celebrities asking her out, but this model is not real. And she is the first Spanish model created by artificial intelligence and was born in the middle of a difficult period. Ruben Cruz, her designer and founder of the agency The Clueless, was going through a rough patch because he didn't have many clients, and so on. Okay, so they basically came up with this Aitana, an exuberant 25-year-old pink-haired woman from Barcelona whose physical appearance is close to perfection. We'll put some links out for this at the show.
I mean, perfection is...
Okay, and the virtual model can earn up to €10,000 a month, according to a creator, but the average is around €3,000. Okay, so this is quite interesting because photography is changing. We're seeing that AI. There'll always be the need for photographers. But I know during COVID, I do remember that some of the fashion industry, they went into AI a little bit, weren't they? They were doing virtual fashion shows. And it's going. Do you find that fascinating from your point of view? Do you find that interesting, Jade? Do you think that's something that you think,
or alarming, maybe?
well, no. Do you actually sort of think? Do you embrace it and think, oh, actually, do you know what? There's things that things could potentially change. This is something I want to be aware of now, or do you want to keep it real, as it were?
Yeah, no,
it's a difficult question.
I think for me, again, it's taken away from someone that's probably worked so hard to try and be a model. And again, you can find this model, but to use the word perfection, what is perfection?
Well, yeah.
This is the question. So when they're using this AI to create this perfect model, what is a perfect model? So I think, for me personally, it's a no. Like, I think I can use it from an editing point of view to maybe extend something or to take away something, or like if there's an annoying crease on a clothing or whatever, fine, I'm happy to do that. You know, to extend the backdrop, happy to do that. But to then start modifying a person or creating a person, I just think it just goes against everything I believe in, to be honest. So
Yeah.
for
No,
me,
no, I
it's
get
not
it.
for
I mean,
me. It's not for me.
Yeah, it is one of those things. It's where, you know, the technology just moves so quickly. You know, it's moved quicker than ever before, and so many different people are affected by it. I was just really interested to hear what your thoughts are as somebody who's been very successful in a very short space of time as well. And you know, you've done some really good campaigns with some really, you know, with some high sort of well-known brands. You know, it's getting your thoughts on it firsthand about how you feel about it. I find that quite interesting. AI, I find, you know, is a worrying aspect of things, but it's really interesting to hear your side of it, Jade. So
Thank you.
great. All right. Okay, Jade. So just a reminder again, Jade, just tell us when your talk is on the beauty.
It is on the 19th of March, and it's going to be in the photo studio. I believe it's at 2:40.
2:25.
2:25. 2:25. 2:25.
I knew you weren't 100% sure when you said it, so
I
dropped you in it then. That's right. Yeah,
you did, Cam. That was really mean. We've got him in front of us, so come on.
Jade might be 15
I
minutes late.
I should know it.
I
should know it. I really should know it, to be honest.
It's 2:25, but you might not start until 22, so you could be
no,
right, Jade.
No, I'm going to be there on time. I'm going to be there
by the time you've done all your selfies and your autographs for everyone as you're leading your way up on stage, it's going to be 22 before you start your show, isn't it? So
yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. As I said, it is my first time speaking at a photography show, and as it stands, this is my I guess last class of this year so far anyway. So for anyone that is interested in hearing me speak or see me work, this is probably the best time to probably come and find me. You know, like was mentioned at the beginning, you can get obviously 20% off, I believe, on the adult standard tickets, isn't it? For the show. So
yes,
so you know, if you want to come and, you know, hear me speak a little bit more, because I can talk, this is probably the best time, and I will, you know, be able to show you. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me on the day as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
no
sorry, because I think
yeah,
and I think people do have this fear factor, don't they? Oh, I don't know whether I'm going to go and speak to this person, but you seem very approachable. And you know, whoever's listening out there, if you are thinking of doing the talk and you do see Jade, do pop over to her and just have a chat. I'm sure she's going to be very, very happy to give you any advice. Jade,
100%.
That's all right. Jade, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope everyone enjoys your show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
That was good chatting to Jade, Mark.
Yes, it was. I mean, she's got a lot to say. I mean, the passion that she has in what she's speaking about is fantastic. So it's really, really good to have her.
And it's a tough industry to get into, because you know, how many people want to be fashion photographers? You know, they want to get into it, and you know, it's like any of these big careers. There's only really a small number really that actually make it, and she seems to be the sort of person that's prepared to sort of open the door, scream out loud, and say, "Look, here I am. I'm going to do this."
I think that's an element of it. I mean, I know a lot of the things that we say don't do stuff for free. I mean, she did a lot of stuff for free by the sounds of it, and that's how. I mean, that is one way of doing it. And I guess, you know, she got that break with that. It was Nike, wasn't it? That campaign just making national news. I mean, you know, that is what you want, and it's a way you go from there. So obviously she's a grafter as well. I mean, working in that betting shop, she was saying, for 8 hours, and then doing the other workout of that. I mean, yes, I think she got a lucky break. I think that to have something that just blows up like that is the sort of thing that you don't often get. But despite that, she works for it. She absolutely 100% works for it. And her website's good. Check out her website, because she's obviously talented at what she does. But yeah, I think she tried a lot of things and it didn't all work out. And I quite like that, because, you know, when you hear a lot of photographers go, "Oh, well, I did this and this worked and it became this and it worked and blah, blah, blah." No, she dropped out of uni. She went to another uni, and then I think she dropped out of that one. And then and then Matt still made it. You know, she made it doing it her way, and you can only respect that, you know.
Great lesson for people out there wanting to get into the industry. Mark, before we give the patrons a shout out, the photography show now it's up and coming. It's almost here, guys. Remember, you can still get your tickets, 20% discount with us. Just see the link below and get along to it, because it is, you know, whether you're a hobbyist, whether you're a professional, you really need to sort of get along to it. So
And just before we go on to the patrons, sorry, I just want to clarify, because it was we weren't quite sure about it at the end there, but I just want to just clarify Jade's dates and times of when she's talking at the show. So she'll be talking but she's basically there on the 19th of March. The first talk she is doing is the importance of knowing how to light all skin tones. And that is at the photo studio, and that is at 11:15 on the 19th of March. And then again on the 19th of March, the second talk is at 2:25, and that is a career in fashion and beauty photography, and that is at the Masterclass Theatre in the Piazza Suites.
Great stuff. Thank you, Mark. The patrons, before we wrap up.
Yes, so just another shout out. Thank you to the patrons. So we have Rob Percy, Nick Payne, Amara Zainab, and Cam.
Carl Sherville.
Yes, there we go. All right.
There we go. Right. Well, thank you, guys.
Yeah, and we are at the show on the Monday, the 18th. So we'll be hanging around. So if you see us, come and say hello. We'd love to have a chat with you. Maybe get you on the pod. You never know.
That's right. Yes. Oh, and we will have we may, unless they've all gone by then, some free beer mats as well.
We still got some. We still got some. Yeah, but I think they might be gone by the end of the show.
They will be. So if you catch us early, you can walk away the free beer mat.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Cool. Spare no expense.
See you at the next one. See you after the show. Cheers.
Ta-ra.